Hi everybody. Welcome back to Regina's World. I am here to do a story time, which I love to do. I love to do my weekly story times. For those who are new to my channel, I do story times on this channel. I do weekly reviews to Married to Medicine, and I do my like my vlogs around the city of Las Vegas here, where I live, where I love. And so if you ever come into Las Vegas and you're looking for stuff to do, check out my videos down below, and go to one of these hot spots around the city. Enjoy yourself. More to come, more to see. Halloween's coming up, and I got some crazy stuff planned in Halloween. Y'all gonna see all of that. And yeah, so, but anyway, this video is a story time about abortion, having an abortion. Any of you ladies, any of my watchers, my viewers, my subscribers, and first I want to also thank my subscribers, any new subscribers for the future who find me on YouTube. Welcome for my subscribers that I've had for a while. I hope you enjoyed this story time. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thumbs up if you care. Share it on your Instagram and your Facebook. Let people know that I'm here. All right, and let's get started in this story time. Okay, so this is kind of an extension of my last week's story time. My last week's story time was about pregnancy and what it was like to be pregnant and everything that went along with being pregnant. And this week is about abortion. Because in my last story time, I told you guys that I had 3 pregnancies, right? And I said in my last story time that I had an abortion. And I said there was going to be another story time. So here it is. So I got pregnant the first time with my oldest son, Keyshawn, at the age of 18. And then I got pregnant again. And I think it was maybe 20. I think I was probably 20. And I had an abortion. And I had an abortion because that child was not my husband's child. So I ended up cheating. I cheated. I was young though. Well, there's no excuse. But I ended up cheating with somebody. I don't even remember his name. It doesn't even matter. But I ended up cheating. And I was seeing this guy because my baby father at the time used to work out in California. So I lived here. He pretty much lived in California because he worked 95% of the time. So he always was gone all the time. So while he was gone, I always had like a side piece here in the city. And when my baby father came back into town, then I would tell the side piece, my baby father's here, don't call me, don't talk to me, type of stuff. Yeah, I was that kind of person. And so I remember the day I got pregnant. He took me to this lake, and I think it was like on Sahara. It was lake something. It was a lake, and we had sex at the lake in his car on the bench. Like, we was just having a whole bunch of sex that night. Like, we just was young, wild, and free, and we just did whatever we wanted. And then a couple days later, maybe I give it maybe a week, but I knew instantly I was pregnant because I used to smoke Black and Milds, like smoke them like a chimney. And all of a sudden, one week, I just couldn't even stand the smell of a Black and Mild. And I smoked Black and Milds every day. And now I can't even stand the smell of a Black and Mild. I was throwing up all kind of stuff. I said, oh my goodness, I am pregnant. but I knew who baby it was, and it wasn't my baby's father's. So I told the guy that I was pregnant, and he was like, "That's great, let's have the baby, let's get married, blah 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 blah." And I'm like, "No way," because I wasn't in love with him. I was still in love with my baby father, and I didn't want to end my relationship with my baby father, and I damn sure didn't want a baby by anybody else. So I told the guy, I said, no, what I need is $500 to get rid of this thing. He didn't give it to me though, because he was like, "No, I'm not going to give you money to kill my child," blah 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 blah. So I was in the middle of a whole bunch of other stuff going on with my sister, and her, you know, I end up getting shipped to Georgia because I was in this battle back and forth with my sister while I was pregnant and all this other stuff. And so when I got to Georgia, by this time I told my baby father that I was pregnant, and he was ecstatic because he thought it was his child, but I knew it wasn't, and I didn't even have the time at the very moment to get an abortion, because I went from being pregnant, fighting with my sister, packing up, moving from Las Vegas, moving to Atlanta, Georgia, staying in Atlanta, Georgia for a few months, and I don't want to be in Atlanta, Georgia. I wanted to be where my baby father was. So I had told my mother about me being pregnant while I was down there, because I couldn't hide it. I was getting big. And then she was like, "Well, you want an abortion that you pay for yourself." So luckily, I had a check here in Las Vegas, and my sister had that check, and she thought she was going to keep that check, and my mother was like, "You cannot keep that check. That is not your check. Send that money down here right now." So they sent the money here. I took that money, moved me and my oldest son I came back to Vegas on a Greyhound. And then when I came back to Vegas on a Greyhound, we stayed at my apartment, because now my brother lived in the apartment that I was living in, because I still had a lease there. So my sister kicked me out of the apartment that I was living in. I ended up going to Georgia. When I come back, my brother from St. Louis, she has moved my brother down here and put him into the apartment that I lived in. So when I came back, I found that my brother was here in my apartment. I moved back into my apartment, right? But I didn't stay there at the very moment. I didn't stay. I just stayed a couple of nights. And actually, no, that's not what happened. We stayed in a hotel first. When we came back to Vegas, we stayed in a hotel, and then the next day we hopped on a Greyhound and went to Cali. So when I finally got to Cali, I still wanted an abortion. I just needed to get settled. And months has passed as I'm speaking. Months has passed, and now I finally find a clinic in California. We're settled in California. And we were living, it doesn't matter where we're living. We're in California. So I find a clinic that does abortions. I go in, and they tell me that I am turning 6 months. Now, it's against the law, I believe, to do an abortion if you over 6 months or at 6 months. But the clinic that I was in, Los Angeles, they a little shady. They do everything out there. They don't give a fuck. But that clinic was like, "We're willing to do it." So they do, they do what they all do. They try to counsel you and all that stuff. I'm like, "Look, I don't need this counseling. I know what I want. Give me an abortion." So I tell my baby father that day that I tell him my day of the abortion is such. So I go back and have it. I give them I think it was $500. Now, I'm a disclaimer here. If no one's ever had an abortion, I'm finna give you the raw and utter truth of what it looks like, what it is. If you don't want to hear this, don't listen. Christians, any religious folks who end up finding this video, do not throw stones, because I am a Christian child, a father of pastors. I'm a pastor's daughter. I know all about this. I'm just giving you my experience, okay? So I did not know what it was like to have an abortion, because my best friend had one. They just gave her a pill, and I think she just did it in the toilet, and that was that. Me, because I was so far along, I had the actual abortion with a vacuum. So I got onto the table. They put this thing up there to numb it, so that was supposed to numb it, but it really didn't. It didn't do anything. They let me sit there for about 30 minutes or 45 minutes to make sure it was completely numb, but it still wasn't. They gave this, it looked like a vacuum. This long tube with an opening about this big. They put it up in my uterus. They had this long tube going across the bed, the thing that I was laying on. Over here comes into this little jar. It was a clear jar. And this clear jar was very, very close to my head. It still didn't recollect, because I didn't know. I've never had an abortion before. I didn't know what I was going to see. All of a sudden, the doctor says, I'm finna begin. I was like, okay, do what you gotta do, doc. He flips on the vacuum thing, and all of a sudden, it was like my insides was getting sucked out. That's how bad it hurt. Number one, not even talking about the abortion in general. I'm just talking about how powerful the suction of this thing, vacuum, was. It was so powerful that it just felt like it was sucking everything that was on my insides out. I began to scream because it was hurting that bad. With that being said, it is a suction because it's suctioning to crush your baby. This tube is led to this jar next to my head so I can see what I've done. So it's crushing my baby. As it's suctioning, I'm hearing, and as I'm hearing, I'm screaming, and then I'm seeing my child in this tube, bone by bone, flesh by flesh, muscle by muscle. I'm seeing it. Eyeball, toes, toenail. I'm officially traumatized at this point. I was like, who the fuck would do this? Why would somebody put this next to me so I can see this? This is awful. But I get why they did it. To turn me away, to say I will never do this again. It went on. It felt like it went on forever. I literally will never forget what it looked like. It literally looked like my whole baby in bones, in a jar, all the pieces of the baby on top of each other. And you can literally make out, because not everything, is destroyed. You can see pieces of everything, the nose, the eyeballs, the lips. You can see pieces of everything in this jar. It was absolutely awful. It felt like it took forever to do. Once it was over, I think my body was like kind of lifted off the ground because I was just in so much pain, and it was just so many emotions happening all at once. I was in pain, and then I was in physical pain, I was in emotional pain, and I was in mental pain. Like I felt awful watching what I was watching. I was emotional because I'm losing a child. I'm going through a serious abortion, which is my physical pain. It was a lot of emotions happening at one time. My baby father, I don't even think he showed up until later. He act like at this time he was so lost, he didn't know where, he didn't know where it was at. He just didn't want to show up. Like, so I after it was over, they take all the equipment out. I was bawling. I was just so messed up in my spirit. I just felt so terrible. I don't know how women do it over and over and over again. So if it was easy like my friends was, just a pill, okay, that's nothing. Give me a pill. Abortion, here we come. This one was so traumatic that I just did not know how women do it over and over again. If this is what they got to do over and over again, you are some kind of person. Because I did it once and said I will never do it again. I cried until I literally fell asleep on the thing. They just let me sleep. I don't know how long they let me sleep, but once they came in and woke me up, I got up. I was very sore. They give you just like anything you have give birth. You got to put on these big old diapers and stuff, and then you bleed for a couple weeks or whatever. I get in a taxi. I think my baby daddy now, he started some shit with me about something. My mother yelled at him because I just had an abortion. Like, she just had a fucking procedure and you want to talk some shit. Like, he was just always like, anywho, that's another procedure. There's another story time video. And I'm gonna have him actually in the video. Things I hate about him. But I said to say, if you're thinking about having an abortion, just really, really think about it. Because if some women don't have an effect to abortions at all. It doesn't bother them, and they can go on with their lives like nothing has happened. And then there's people like myself and my sister. My sister had an abortion as well, and she fell into depression. Like, she hit it really, really hard. I think I didn't hit it as hard as she did afterwards because she couldn't get out of her funk until a couple of months. Like, she fell into a straight up depression. I was sad for maybe a couple days, and I was over it. I think just because I already settled it in my spirit that that's what I wanted to do. She was forced by my parents to have an abortion, and that's not what she wanted to do. And so I wanted to do it. So maybe that's why we handled it a little differently, because of the situation was different. That was my choice. She was forced. So if any woman or young lady is deciding to have an abortion, do your research, think about it, watch plenty of videos, get as much advice as you can. Because once you make that step in having an abortion, there's no going back. And you don't know how that's going to affect you in the future. You don't know how it's going to affect you after you do it. You don't know what it's going to be like when you do it, You don't know if it's going to prevent you from having children in the future. Most likely it probably won't, but you never know, So just think about it. Have a discussion with the other party involved, because there is the man involved. And yes, it's your body, your choice. You have to carry the child for 9 months. But the fact that there's another person involved as well. Is it still recording? Yes, I'm sorry. It said something at the bottom of the screen. But there's another party involved as well, and another party deserves to put their input in and see if you can have other options before you go down the abortion route. Because if you end up like me, having to experience such traumatic stuff, it definitely changed my perspective on a lot of things. I said I would never do it again, and I didn't. And I went through all of that, and seriously, I had went through all of that to turn around and get pregnant again with my third child. So I went through all that traumatic experience and pregnancy and abortion and all that stuff to turn around and have another child, my third child, Trey. So it's just, to me, abortion is not worth it. If you have somebody who can raise your child until you're ready to have them, or you can give that child to somebody who's able to take them, but abortions are not the answer. And coming from a religious family, I know it's in the Bible, you don't supposed to kill, we committed a sin, we committed murder, things like that. You don't want to have that over you if you're a religious type of person. So just discuss that with your parents and discuss it with your partner. There's other options out there before you take the steps of an abortion. So I just wanted to share my abortion story. I hope this intrigued you in some kind of way. I hope that it helped in some kind of way. If there's women out there who had abortions and they want to discuss it, let's discuss it in the comment section below. I can't wait to hear from you. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe my video. And talk about it on your social media. Follow me on my social media. Keisha Varese Robinson on Facebook. And Sleepless and LVNV on Instagram. Okay. Talk to you guys next week.